104.5 The Team, your home for New York sports. Tomorrow debuts one of my favorite TV shows. One of the reasons I still get HBO, Hard Knocks. So we are honored to be joined by a producer for NFL Films, Paul Camarata. He's a friend of the show. Paul, Hard Knocks, one of the most popular shows there is on TV. What goes into putting a show like this together? I know you just got there this weekend to start putting things together, right?
Well, we've actually, I guess the best thing way to sum it up is an army is what goes into it. It's been an army of folks that really they started shooting as early as the spring. I don't know the exact date, but we've been sort of picking up stuff more and more as the spring and summer have unfolded. We opened camp in earnest from a shooting perspective, I want to say about 2 weeks ago. So from about 2 weeks ago on, it's been kind of all day, every day with our guys in the field, just going nonstop as players showed up. Moved into the dorms, went out got out in the fields, and then obviously started exploring Los Angeles as the Rams are doing this year as they're headed back there. So it's been ramping up. It's full go now, and it will be for the next 5 or 6 weeks here until the end of training camp, right up to week one.
Paul, do you believe it can ever be a negative for a franchise?
I think Hard Knocks is really just telling the story of a team, and I think that I think often it's perceived that way, and it's usually the questions we get from especially the coaches, how we're going to distract, and really it's a reflection of the guys out in the field that it's usually within the first week that they become so much a part of the wallpaper of camp that the distraction element really never becomes an issue. I mean, it's amazing. I'm so proud to be a part of a team of these guys in the field because what they're able to accomplish through the relationships they build, and I think that's really reflected in what they're able to capture. You know, if they didn't gain the trust of the players and the coaches and the administrators and the owner, all the way up to the ownership, typically, I don't think the show would be what it is. I think what we're able to edit and put together on the screen back here at Films in the office when we do get the footage, the quality of that is a product of the quality of what is captured in the field, and that is a direct result of the relationship building that goes on with our directors and producers out in the field.
Paul Camarata joins us. He's a producer and just all-around good guy from NFL Films. So, Paul, we always do the debate right before you guys announce where Hard Knocks is going to be, like who we want to see in this year's show. Now, LA is obviously cool because they're going to Los Angeles, but how heated do the conversations get to when you pick the location for Hard Knocks?
It's really, debate's a good word for it in the sense that every team really has virtues to their story, right? So the Rams, the move is a huge plus from us from a storytelling standpoint. It's a story we've never done on the show. Obviously, not something that happens every year. We've never had the number one overall draft pick on the show. The Rams are moving not just to a new city, but to a city they've been before, so that makes that part of the story even richer. They're one of the, I don't know if they're the youngest, they're one of the 2 or 3 youngest overall rosters in the league, so that's obviously compelling in the sense that there's all kinds of possibilities of who these players are going to be. In a way, we kind of feel like we're present at the creation of a potentially great team. Their defense is already great. I think real football fans know about Aaron Donald and Robert Quinn and some of the guys in that defensive line. So to get back to your question, the Rams are a team that some people would actually probably would have been rooting for to have on the show. And then obviously there's always the magnetism. Some people are going to pull for whoever the defending Super Bowl champion is, or whether it's the iconic teams like the Steelers or Giants, that kind of team. But every team really has a story to tell, and it's just a matter of where they are sort of in the development of that particular program that makes them attractive to us. And we're just excited to be there because of what goes on at camps day in and day out. We're still really compelled by it and love the opportunity to bring that out to fans.
Paul, Hall of Fame weekend, any favorite moments or NFL film scenes from one of this year's inductees?
Eddie DeBartolo,
yeah.
As much as I'm a Giants fan, grew up a Giants fan. So in a sense, Eddie DeBartolo and his team were one of the first great football antagonists I had as a Giant fan in the late 80s. They were the gold standard. My first few years of football, I just remember they were always one step ahead. So I think it's because of that when 1990 finally rolled around, and for those folks who remember that both teams started 10-0, they played on a Monday night game, I think in Week 12. They really had an epic battle of that, just along the lines of that season, culminating in incredible NFC Championship where the Giants finally toppled them and ended their three-peat bid, and then went on to obviously beat Buffalo in the Super Bowl. I think that seeing Eddie D finally get into the Hall, he's a Notre Dame guy, so I pull for him for that reason. What his team was to me as a kid, and then as I grew up watching football and learning more about it and appreciated what the 49ers were and really what he and his family built them into. I mean, people forget now that before the DeBartolos bought that team, they were the dregs of the NFL. I mean, they were rock bottom through most of the 70s and longer than that until Eddie got there and then hired Bill Walsh and then really turned them into a flagship franchise. So I think it's kind of neat to see his journey culminating with his induction.
Paul Camarata joining us. I love you brought up Notre Dame. I always loved your Twitter because it's son of Albany, Notre Dame alum, senior producer in Sable's Army. So what's next for Sable's Army? What is NFL Films working on?
Well, so Hard Knocks we talked a lot about. One thing, it's still out there, even though it's been out for about a month or two. If football fans haven't seen All or Nothing, the show that we have out on Amazon right now, I really can't recommend it enough. I mean, talk about getting a place we've never been before in the 45-year history of the company. If you're not familiar with All or Nothing, it's an 8-hour series that we shot last year, embedded during the regular season with the Arizona Cardinals. An NFC Championship entry. Bruce Arians is just a remarkable. His coaching journey has been remarkable in and of itself. We did a Football Life on him a few years back, but being with him the whole season, with Carson Palmer or Larry Fitzgerald, it's a totally different story than the story we tell in Hard Knocks. The scope of the 22-week season, nearly 22 weeks, I think it was that they had. And so anyway, we created an 8-hour documentary series out of that. It's called All or Nothing. It was released on Amazon Video, I believe, the first week of July. So it's still really pretty fresh. If you haven't seen it, I mean, I'd check that out. It's football the way we've never been able to. Again, go beyond walls that we hadn't been able to before. I would say that, and then another show that I'm involved with is a series that we started last year called The Timeline. Mm-hmm. We had been doing here at Films the Football Life series for a few years, and then kind of sort of a spin-off of that was something we started last year. The Timeline is a series that's more based on moments in history than, say, Football Life, which is a little more strictly lives and biographies. And so last year we did 6 episodes in the first season of the Timeline. This year we're doing 10. There's going to be an announcement here pretty soon from NFL Network on all the subjects of those 10. The one in particular that I've been working on is a New Orleans Saints post-Katrina rebirth film. It's called Rebirth in New Orleans, and it tells the story of the 13 months between Katrina and the return to the Dome that the Saints made, and really that the city of New Orleans made coming back home after the devastation they suffered. This fall is the 10-year anniversary of the return to the Superdome that happened September 2006. Wow! So we're diving into that moment. That's what it is. It's a deep dive into moments in history, and that particular year is the moment we chose, culminating in that game. So that's one of the new episodes. The other 9 are going to be released soon. And just as an aside, guys, it's not an NFL film, but just as a football fan and as a fan of great stories, another film I want to throw out there that's sort of connected to that. You guys might have seen the trailers for the Gleason documentary that's out right now in select cities. I know it's coming to the Spectrum, I think August 12th. If you guys want to be moved to tears of joy, tears of sad, it's just an incredible film. There's some folks at Films. A few of us have had the opportunity to see it already. We're actually having a screening for the whole company next week. The Steve Gleason story it's astonishing on paper, and seeing it come to life in this documentary is, again, just as a general recommendation. If you guys have a chance to check that out, I would definitely do so.
Paul, is that All or Nothing going to be something you guys do every year?
I think they're still working that out. To be quite honest, I think we are going to try and do it this year, but it's the kind of thing that may begin and may not be announced for quite some time. To maybe the middle of the season. So this year is still TBD. I think it is a goal because we were so excited to have that opportunity. But every year is different, and finding a good fit for a team every year. And with a series like that, sometimes it might not happen this year, and it could come back in 2017. I think Hard Knocks, people forget, but even that had years in the life cycle of it where it went away. I think the first year we did it was about 15 years ago with the defending champion Ravens, but we haven't done it every year of those 15 years. There have been gap years. So on a series like that, we always aspire to do it again right away, but if it doesn't happen for whatever reason, it doesn't mean it will be gone forever.
Paul, I'm going to put you on the spot. Favorite sports movie of all time?
I got a hard time not saying Caddyshack. I know it's not the traditional. It's not the traditional like action sequence, sort of driven by the events of the sporting event. But it is a sports movie, and man, it's quotable. Maybe as quotable a movie like volume wise as there's ever been made. Right? I mean, what's more quoted than that?
I say it all the time. I'm always doing the Cinderella story and all that. Paul Camarata, he is a hometown kid, made good, and we love when you make time for us. I can't wait to check out Hard Knocks tomorrow night. Such a great pleasure to talk to you guys. You guys have been such big fans, and I love talking to you guys. Guys, how's everybody doing at the track so far? It started good and ended poorly. I mean, I'm still going. We're there. We were there live Friday. I still haven't gone through all the tickets to see how I did. Well, you got a couple more weeks, so hang in there.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, fellas, take it easy.